Thank you.
All
Kevin. Well, so good.
Pass them on
How
down.
about that? I just got last year's.
Another?
I think they've gone up considerably. Good reason.
Thing living in the old.
Uh,
Oh, yeah.
All right, we're live now. Let's start. I now call over this meeting of the Huntingburg Common Council. Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Dear Father, God, thank you for the opportunity to be here today, and thank you for those that are chosen to serve this great city. We ask now as we go into this meeting of the council today that our decisions may be for the benefit of all in this community. For these things we ask in your son's name. Amen. You all have gotten copies of the minutes? Are there any additions or corrections to those, or do I hear a motion to accept?
Motion to accept the minutes.
And second,
I'll second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Got a chance to review the claims. Do I hear a motion to accept?
Motion to accept.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And we got a first and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Only thing under my area is last Thursday, the Board of Public Works and Safety did approve the addition of 3 firefighters. That'll bring us up to the 30 that's budgeted for the firefighters. Those people were Justin Martin, who's right now a F1 or a firefighter 1 already certified as moving to this area. We're also been have 2 other individuals that have been going through training with the fire department, Santiago Nunez, Christian Calderon. What I would need is a motion to accept those 3 firefighters into the Huntingburg Volunteer Fire Department.
Yeah, so the council approves, the fire chief recommends a list of candidates, and the council approves those, and the mayor can appoint from that approved list.
I think we had 7 candidates, and there's still a waiting list for firefighters.
I'll make a motion to accept those firefighters.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Mayor, I'm curious about, we're at 30, think I recall 30 being full, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
We stop at 30.
Do we ever consider increasing that limit? If we've got people waiting,
We have, over the time, we used to be 25 and then we went to 28, then we went to 30. So yeah, we've increased it. And it's odd that we have a waiting list, because for a while it's tough to find firefighters, so.
Mhm.
um,
Your marketing department has done well.
Yeah,
but-
Yes. I know there needs to be probably more money budgeted if we increase the limit, but you hate to not take advantage of a waiting list,
Mhm.
have people take their name off the list for not being put on,
When people retire or leave or move or whatever, we're not beholden to fill that spot again. I mean, we can always but we're not stuck with it. You can have 30 firefighters and 32 positions available, right? I mean, that's what we've had in the past.
Yeah, at one time, I believe they were down, 3 years ago, about 17.
Mhm.
And a couple of those even had some health issues.
Mhm.
One thing that's provided for is that keeping it at that level is, I think, put a little more pressure on people to be able to attend meetings, to attend. He's held him to a lot. There's kind of a point system that respond to so many emergencies. Have so many hours of training, work on Sundays. Excuse me. Attend the Wednesday training sessions. So there's a whole list of things that are required. I think in the past, we kind of looked the other way because we didn't have enough.
Right.
Now they're holding their feet to the fire for those, even though they all are volunteers, we do count on. We want them trained, so. The training level as a result of that has increased drastically over the past few years, and Glenn can attest to that. He's all his years with the fire department. We have a well-trained fire department. They're really shooting right now, we're at a class, whatever, 4. That we're hoping that maybe March or so be closer to class 3, so. We can't go to class 1 or 2 without a full-time
No.
firefighter, so. We would be at the highest, one of the highest of volunteer forces in the states.
And there are very few class 4 volunteers in the state,
Yes.
so sort of an exception.
That's awesome. That's really awesome.
Yeah, and some of these people that are coming on are people that have kind of been around the firefighters and they've been active and shown up for events and been around, so you kind of learn their character as it goes.
Is there a way that the fire department includes people that are on the waiting list, but not necessarily full-fledged volunteer fire department member? Can they participate in anything?
They have to have them, first of all, we'd have to put them on to cover them under insurance. They have to have their mandatory hour training and then they'd have to go towards certification. So that might be tough. That's why we have to actually have to put them on before they start their class of training, so we'll cover them under insurance.
Is there ever a time where with a full roster and a waiting list that they would ever ask aging firefighters to step aside and allow room for people on, or how do you
No,
never have done that?
No.
Well, I'm on phones.
I thought you were talking about Glenn.
Guilty.
Treading on that.
Just curious how you manage that, attrition on one end, but a waiting list on the other, if there's.
Well, on average, I mean, how many firefighters does it take to fight like a fire? I think that it's like the people, there's something to be said about even though they're maybe not actively fighting the fire, just the years and years of knowledge that offers a lot too. So I think it's,
And I think we'd have to rely on our chief to give us that recommendation, what he thinks he wants and needs. As Mayor
Yeah.
said, he's got a point system going right now that might take care of some of our problem. I don't know,
mhm.
Yeah,
He also has to manage this many
Right.
people too,
Right.
so. That maybe should come from him. How many does he? How many can he? You
Well,
know,
he has personnel,
effectively
he has
manage,
personnel to help him, but yes.
you know,
yeah, it's a very manageable number of people. The training's conducted by others besides himself usually that oversee people that are certified to do that training. Yeah, I encourage you to come show up on some Wednesday nights and look at the training.
Usually
They
the first,
practice, they throw out addresses and see how fast they can actually find that address. And I don't think some of us could always find all those roads and where they're at. But they do understand the numbering system, and just by the number, they know what direction to head to.
second meeting is usually the hard training session.
Yeah,
First meeting's more of a light training in business. They usually hit the streets on the third Wednesday.
And I-
Something good is happening.
Yeah.
To have
Oh,
gone
yeah.
from 17 a few years ago to now
Oh, yeah.
30 with a waiting list, so that's.
And that says
good.
something for our community too. That's amazing. So many people are stepping up. That's really awesome.
good.
that's the envy of a lot of volunteer fire departments now, I can tell you that. And our response time is about half of what many volunteer forces have, so.
I think it's
We do have people actually
more
respond.
like I mean, it's faster now than it was in Indianapolis. I mean, I'll tell you that, like, I think they're at 4.5 minutes for in town, and that's remarkable, really, truly remarkable.
Standard
So,
for volunteers about 9 minutes, I believe.
mhm.
Does
Yeah,
that sound about
and-
right?
And
We're less than half of that. so.
Yeah, that's amazing.
puts that on.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, a couple months ago, we were in the 3-minute range, so it's.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
That's amazing. I
That was
can look at that. That's amazing. That's amazing.
I say it all the time. We have, City Attorney Phil Schneider.
I have nothing because I see Tom's got a lot here, so I'm not.
All right, Clerk Treasurer.
I'll wait
We
till
have the
next time.
consideration for the 2025 elected officer salary ordinance, which was a vote. This would be for a second vote.
It was introduced, it was your last.
Introduced, yeah.
And it's is ready for consideration for adoption if you so choose tonight.
What you have in front of you is the clerk, treasurer, mayor is 5% and the council was at 2.5%.
Which our reasoning for the 2.5% was, that's basically the rate of inflation. Or what it currently is, so that kind of kept us in line with where. Just so that. If you don't have raises, at least at the rate of inflation, you're taking a pay cut every year, so I think just to stay competitive.
City employees are more than
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fine.
Any other discussion?
I'll make the motion to adopt.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
Bolte,
Aye.
Kissling,
Aye.
Ware,
Aye.
Bounds,
Aye.
McFerrin,
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays.
Next, consideration of the board appointments, you send out a list, the council has a redeveloped commission as well as the board of zoning appeals.
Yeah, I've talked to Nick Stevens and Jamie Rossi, and they're willing to serve if you so see.
All the real redeveloped commission terms are 1 year, so.
So you need approval for these people?
Yes,
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
got a motion to approve, we got a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And there's one other item that Riley Shoemaker has moved. And you're gonna need to replace him for the remainder of his term, which expires 12/31/25. And I don't know that you have to do it now, but think about it.
Anywhere in the city limits?
I'm not sure. Is that-
Yeah, I just saw that segment. I'm not sure what position Riley is in.
He was in 3.
Was he? Then it would be city limits.
He was in, well, he was in whatever precinct 3. I don't know if it matters for
No,
that.
it could be, if he was in city limits, then it's a city limit. It's not a. There are some that are on that, serve on that because they have to be in the extraterritorial outside the city limits. But since he's in the city limits, so that would be an individual you would appoint from the city limits.
If you like, we can make recommendations to the council to come up with some names for the next. For you approve in a few. Unless you
That's
have,
for the,
unless you have somebody in
Board
mind.
of Zoning Appeals,
You know how often they meet a year
as needed.
as needed?
Only when they have business.
Yeah, it's very.
3 times maybe.
Yeah, maybe 3 to 4 times a year at the
Okay.
most. Yeah, but when they do have business, it's usually somewhat controversial, you know, people are asking for.
A variance or
An
something.
exception to the zoning ordinance, and those are sometimes popular, sometimes not so popular.
There are no,
So they do take some heat, I mean,
there were no requests at this month's meeting as an example, so. That meeting was canceled. Any other, well, we have this one citizen item that I know of here, and if you wanna. Come up
Yeah,
front
yeah.
here and introduce yourself and get on camera here,
I get on
camera,
too?
yes,
All right. Oh. Okay.
thank you.
Yeah. Careful with
Press
that.
that button. All right. I am John Sonner, and I'm here representing my siblings about a piece of property that we own here in town. And like I said, I had a couple things to this. The main thing is, it's a good thing you were talking about them firemen. We may need more of them if you guys let us do what we're talking about, move forward with this. We're wanting to be able to burn on our property, which is in the city limits. However, we have 14.65 acres. And we currently cannot do that because of the current burn ordinance. And we are wanting to see about having a variance on that ordinance to, in my opinion, allow anyone perhaps that owns 5 acres or 10 acres, you could specify what the acreage would need to be. But you're not gonna burn on a 1/4 acre lot. That's not what we're looking for, but
Hate to interrupt you. What is your address?
my address is 917 Shelby Street.
Thank you.
Is that the address we're talking about?
It's behind where I'm at there, yeah.
So
I
it's
mean,
more-
right there between there and Shelby or Cherry Street. And then it's north of OFS's main office up there. So.
Are you burning tree limbs? Is that what you're
that-
getting rid of?
Yeah, that tree road that runs north of OFS's property line, and on the other side is our property. We got a little cabin back there and a pond, but yeah, we have lots of trees, and we're not gonna pay to have them things hauled off when a branch comes down, when you're talking about 14 acres that, we're not gonna be burning the town down.
Mhm.
How often do you foresee having this type of fire?
It varies. I mean, just depends, like, we have some of these storms that come through and, we had a little mishap a few months ago, but, because the last time we did that, I was told, just call the, dispatch and let everybody know what's going on. Didn't have any issues. We burned, that was a year and a half ago. Did the same thing this past summer. Well, lo and behold, come to find out that's not allowed because Donnie Heim, he said, hey, as I told him, unfortunately, the match had already been set because I was under the impression of what we did a year ago was still going to be okay. And then Donnie said, we cannot do that. So like I said, I mean, if you got that much, acres in town, and you got trees and those things are getting blowed down and you're picking limbs up and stuff like that, you do not, again, what's the point of having somebody come in and haul it away? When you've got the property there, you can make a pile on it, burn it.
So you're talking like just instead of burning it kind of as you go in a fire pit type situation, you're saving it all up and then doing like a 1 year Burning Man sort of.
Whatever.
I wonder,
Yeah, but we're talking some big limbs.
Yeah.
Or even trees. We've got dead trees we're gonna be cutting down because there's several of them up there, it's not a forest because we actually have the property also baled twice a year, so there's somebody doing that, but we still have enough trees where,
How far does the city limits go past your property? Are you?
I
are you
think the
close to
line,
it?
if I recall correctly, does the line still run down Cherry Street?
Cherry.
Carry it is?
Yeah,
Right
it's
down the middle of Cherry. And like I said, we're right on Cherry.
Okay.
the line, it actually goes one lot past Cherry Street to the east.
Okay, so they've
Yeah,
added
you're
on to
probably-
that now.
yeah.
It used to be it ran down the middle of Cherry, so they
Sure.
pushed it back.
So all the homes that are on the east side of Cherry, you're getting really the Baptist church is kind of dividing line, where that's at. So everything that's west of that Baptist church, north of that, along Cherry is in the city.
So what kind of options would we even have? Say we agreed that it would be acceptable. Could you do it on a permit type basis? Like not just anytime you wanted to, but could you apply for a permit for a certain day?
not
the
with the current
day,
ordinance,
just
under
rain.
the current ordinance, you couldn't.
We'd have
Right.
to,
So in the current ordinance, there are there's certain exceptions. We prohibit all burning inside the city limits with some exceptions. And the rationale behind that, we used to not prohibit it. Years ago, if you remember, everybody burned their leaves.
Mhm.
But it got so bad, people's asthma got so bad, and there's irritants and there's particulates being dispersed in the air. So that was the rationale behind prohibiting burning. But there are a number of exceptions, essentially fires for pep rallies and campfires and 12th night ceremonies, whatever those are, cooking purposes and campfires, and farm burning of wood products derived from maintenance operations such as burning fence rows, natural growth derived from drainage ditch maintenance, and burning of limbs, but only if the limbs are so diseased and infected as to present contamination problem. You can also buy a variance of the Indiana Air Pollution Control Board Commission. I don't know, there are some state regulations as to open burning. And I'm not familiar to be able to recite those verbatim. But the Department of Environmental Management also gets involved in regulating open burning that we have no control over. So I mean, I don't know what to tell you at this point. Another exemption is for fire training purposes. And then the mayor can allow emergency burning as a result of a natural disaster.
Could
But
we,
I don't know what to tell you other than I need to look into it a little bit to see how far we can go, what our options are. And whether it's even desirable, that's up to you.
I mean, I think that if we, could we adopt or have something where it's like on, or by permit or something like where he said he called dispatch. I would rather than have a blanket policy. I would rather it be a case by case basis that maybe, because I think either way, our fire chief needs to be in the know. If it's going to be a large scale sort of burn, like what this kind of, and even if it is like just it more than a fire pit, you know what I mean? Like, I think that if we just had where you filled out a permit every year when you're going to do it or whatever, and then.
You know, and it's always done according to just how much we've got. I mean, we're not just gonna start small. Yes, will your eyebrows get singed if you're too close? Absolutely. You know, because like I said, I mean, you got some tree trunks that are this big around and the limbs coming off of them are like this, and then all the scrub that's right there with it. Yeah, it's gonna be, you're gonna need a couple of hot dog buns and some dogs out there, you know?
You know, I talked to John a little bit, but I really, you know, suggest they come to the council because as far as an ordinance goes, I know what he does, it's probably shouldn't be allowed, but I think one difference, looking at this that I saw, just looking at the property, is it appears that a large portion of that property is for agricultural use.
Right.
And that's a little different than in a neighborhood or somewhere else.
Absolutely.
Which is
So-
another part of the second dance step I was gonna add in. We were a long time ago, early nineties still, maybe you're gonna have to get your memory jogged. Zoned agricultural, and then under the NOS administration, somehow we got rezoned, and I don't think any of us knew that happened because my other brother and I were talking. I throw some cows up there if we get back to being zoned agricultural. You know, but like I said, because there's currently no plan of that property ever being developed into anything other than what it is. Unless we decide to maybe do some Airbnb stuff with the cabin that we've got, which would just be a whole nother thing, which brings me to the third dance step. I have dance steps here. And again, this would be a Phil question. Many years ago, we gave an easement to the city to run, I think it was the water line and whatever else on that east side along Cherry Street. And for that easement, and we can't find any paperwork on this, and that's why I said I'm not exactly sure how that was done, but we were told we would be able to get a sewer tap up to that cabin that we have free of charge.
How, when was this?
This would have been early nineties. You know, that's what I mean. And Pop was the only guy that would have had any of that, and we never did find any of that. But obviously, first thing is the burning thing, second thing is the zoning thing, and third thing is, yeah, how about a free sewer tap?
Well, the zoning, if there was a zoning change, John, it would have, every property owner has to be notified.
Right.
Of the proposed change in zoning, and they have an opportunity to come to, there has to be a public hearing.
Mhm.
The planning commission has to have a public hearing, and then they have to make a recommendation to council, and the council has to adopt that zoning recommendation at a public meeting. So I feel certain, I feel comfortable that process was followed. You can ask the planning commission to rezone it.
Back to
Back to agriculture, you can do that. I don't think that's gonna necessarily address the burning issue. though,
Right,
and
right.
I've gotta look into that to see how far we can go with regard to IDAM regulations.
Hmm.
So
Clean air and-
would that burning regulation go like a 2 mile jurisdiction too of the city, or is that just the city
Yeah.
line, do you know? where it
Right
stops?
now, it's just the city limits.
Okay.
We can only regulate burning inside the city limits.
Okay.
Because according to the map I was looking at, there's very
It's
few
over here.
properties of
It's
that
here.
Yeah, you have a
size
large size property, you know.
within the
This
city
house is
limits.
on-
Most of them are where we're at, right
The
on
house
the
is on another
fringe.
street,
Mhm.
so. Is this house, is this behind the roundhouse?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can
Going up
see
the
it
north side.
behind, that's great, and so when you look to the south, all of that is.
Does that go all the way to, does that go all the way to Shelby? Or what is that? Is that Ninth, I mean?
Well,
No.
okay, it's
What's
kind
the
of
dead
odd
end one,
because
Shelby?
right next to me,
This is
I'm on
Ninth, this dead
Shelby,
end.
but there is what we call the big yard. That's the lot that's next to me between myself and actually my son now. And that lot is actually part of the property.
Okay.
So if you come off of Shelby, but then you go straight back and that line runs along that tree row, like I said,
Mhm.
north of OFS's property line. And then it all runs north towards 10th Street. But it does not go all the way to 10th Street. Kleins and Hausers have property right on 10th Street.
Yes.
How's the property title?
It's under, I think Gwen's what it's listed under.
Gwen's on it,
Gwen Barnett.
Hornet. Just trying to.
Yeah, I think she gets most stuff. Bill usually does most of the legal dealings on
GIS is not
things.
easier. It's slow as it could be.
Yeah.
Do what's got it, GIS. Huge
Yeah.
file.
I'd be interested to see what Phil could come up with, you know.
We need to know
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
what exceptions can be made, or
Yeah,
what could we possibly think of changing in the zoning, I mean, it'd have to be updated or whatever.
Absent some IDAM regulation that prohibits us from allowing open burning. I think you have discretion to do whatever you want. But I have to check to see how IDAM regulations, how they play into this.
They supersede anything we do, I assume.
you're probably one of the few people that has that much acreage in the city of Huntingburg, aren't you?
Right.
Yeah.
One few, and that's why I said, I mean, the farmers, obviously, they got their fields, they got trees coming down, they push them together, they set a match to it,
Mhm.
away she goes.
Does that come up
And
that
that's pretty
way?
much
Yeah.
what we're just wanting to be able to do when we
That's what I
got
thought.
trees and debris that we're cleaning up, you know. Getting somebody to come in with a triaxle and load it all up with the, front end loader and then cart it away. Well, you may be $1,000, you may be $2,000, hell, you may be $3,000. And it's like, what's the point when you've got 14 acres, you can pile it up on,
Yep, I get you.
the way she goes.
So Phil will research what IDEM
This used to be.
can allow us to do and
That's what I said with the.
I don't know if you remember that.
discuss it at the next meeting.
Man, I'll be old.
Do you cut hay off? Do you use?
Yeah, we've got a guy
Oh,
that
okay,
comes
it's on
from
the-
Bales, twice a year.
Yeah, 'cause
Uh,
That was a part.
Does Halbert still have cattle up there? He used to.
Hauser does not have it. And that's why I said, me and Bill were actually just talking about this, the other day. And, he was saying, hell, we ought to just fence in part of that and set 4 or 5, 6 heads loose up there and, just let them roam. So
I think
we
that's.
got all that, hell, we're looking at maybe building a greenhouse.
Yeah.
Weird stuff, that citrus in the snow, have you ever
Have to
pushed
get-
that?
Yeah, you don't
Down
have
there in
exception.
Nebraska,
Mr. Grant
guy
or him or
building a
something.
greenhouse.
He's that they like
Just
to-
shit off the Jingo there. And it's crazy.
Before you buy your cattle,
That's good size.
I think since you're in the city limits, even though you have the acreage, even if you're zoned for agricultural, it still is under the ordinance that you couldn't have cattle within the city limits. So
Yeah.
I don't want to rain on your parade, but I don't want you to buy cows without checking
Well,
first.
that's why I said, you guys
Yeah.
have
Took that out of it,
been in your shoes about 20-some years, so
Yeah.
I know how the process
Yeah.
operates. And so this is the stepping stone of we start with this, see where we go with that, and then, like I said, then we look at, I'll probably go to the zoning board. And talk to them then about, rezoning back to agricultural. And then, perhaps somewhere along the line, we can look at free sewer tax.
Yeah, like Pam did point out, even if you zone it for agricultural, you wouldn't be able to raise livestock inside the city limits, and that's the problem.
Well, what if
Now,
there's-
so what happened, so when we change, when property is changed from agriculture, agricultural to residential or some other zoning classification. But the property is being used as agriculture, you're grandfathered in, and you can continue using it for agricultural, you can continue raising cattle on it. Until you cease that operation for at least 6 months.
6 months.
And then that grandfather goes away.
Okay,
And so if there were cattle raised on there at the time of the rezoning and you continue to raise cattle, you would have been grandfathered.
On top of the hill,
But since there
and they'll have.
haven't been for more than 6 months, you couldn't raise cattle inside the city limits. So that would present an issue.
Keep on
Yeah, I guess you could also petition to be disannexed, but that would be a decision this board would have.
right, absolutely.
And then there goes your sewer.
There goes the
So.
We had that discussion.
Don't even get me started, John.
10 meetings where chickens are discussed.
Check the minutes.
Yeah, check the minutes on that.
It's been done.
Yeah.
So are you good, John, if we look further into the IDM, and I think probably the council will, once we have some information from Phil, we'll send that on to the council members to that they can have, consider what they think the next step would be.
Okay,
That fair?
oh, I'd say that fair, and then I guess you'll notify me then, or?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and then we can go from there and see where we end up at, but like I said,
I will notify you, so.
it's not like I said, it's not like we're gonna build, large bonfires every week. It is something that is a necessity to just, clean the property up, because nature doesn't stop. It keeps blowing through and knocking trees down.
And you
I don't mean to state the obvious, but the city does have the limb yard. I know that's a lot of labor.
Yeah.
They're dragging down to the limb
That's a
yard,
lot of
but
labor.
that is available.
And again, then you gotta have the equipment to do that with too, because like I said, these logs, some of them, well, there's some up there now that are 18, 20 inches around. And they're not light. I'm not that young.
Yeah,
I get it. For sure.
well, thank you, John.
All
right.
Thank you, bud.
all right.
Do we have any
So I'll
other,
wait to hear from you, and I'm gonna mosey then.
Thank you, John.
Nice dancing.
Today also we have, Malia is back here today. Thank
Hey.
you. We have ordered Malia a name badge, so she'll have one over there, and we appreciate it. We had a nice meeting this morning, I think, with the Mayor's Youth Council, and try to put some stuff together, and gonna introduce them maybe to some of our state elected officials in the future here.
You guys haven't met me before, have you?
No, where are you from?
Hey, before you get started, I understand there were some elections in a recent meeting. Would you mind to tell us how that went?
Yeah, so, Mr. Sutter, sent out a Google form. I am Mayor's Youth Council President.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Jack Baglin is Vice President. Maggie Rashi is our Secretary, and then Riley Blessinger is our Communications Chair. So, and then we have 3 other members, Colton Obermeyer, Joan Bowers, and Alex Hefner. And then hopefully, at one meeting, we can get them all here and introduce them to you. And then, we just kind of sticking to the same plan as last year. So working on the community garden, we have a better idea than, what we had. And then we're planning some field trips. We're working with Mayor with that. So,
Good. Great.
any questions?
Thank you for your doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's pretty cool.
We'll have to have your communication director get with our communications director.
Just ignore him.
So we have no other Announcements, excuse me, or items. Anybody have a motion to adjourn?
Whoa,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, my goodness.
We have a bid opening.
Oh,
For the van.
Oh, my
I
goodness.
wanted to get-
I didn't know
I
about
wanted you to
that.
approve a bid opening committee.
Oh, I thought you had one for us to open.
No.
I got really excited.
Oh, yeah, you do. You do.
I think that's.
I'd say the bid open committee would be Tom and
April.
why not?
That's fine with me.
Yeah.
That's suffice.
Vice for me.
I'd second it, or whatever you
I'll
got,
throw
you
it.
gotta
All in favor?
make a motion here or what?
Okay, so we have a motion right now. that
I'll second it.
Tom Dipple and April Blessing
Yeah.
are the bid committee for the van.
Okay. All
Right, that opening's the 26th.
Yeah.
All right, on the 26th. We got a first and a second, I believe, to enter. Did you get us the second time? All those in favor?
Uh,
Any opposed? Motion carries.
How many bids do we have?
okay.
Haven't got any yet.
Oh. No, we have
The
we
new
have we have a time frame now.
We got it updated.
Let's see. They have up to the 26th or 25th?
Well, they have, it's a bid opening on the 26th, so they're sealed bids.
Mhm. I think the Christmas stroll was pretty fun this weekend.
Yes.
It was
It was
great. I saw a
successful.
lot of people up for both nights. Look forward for more things like that to happen in our little city.
Mhm.
Yeah, but thank you for those that. Really, everybody that helped, there's so many people, but my comments from the merchants down there in the restaurants that it was one of the best weekends ever. Some people broke some sales records and it was very strong, you know, the weather is always iffy this time of year. You never know it's gonna snow or be hot or rain or what, you know, everything's there, but people came out regardless of the weather and showed up and everybody seemed to have fun. There were no incidents, you know, no injuries. Everybody was safe, so.
A lot of cars parked out back and behind the buildings, which are using our parking lots. I thought that was
Mhm.
great.
And I have heard a lot of people that really love when 4th Street is shut down like that. Just that it's more family friendly. I think that the kids can kind of. So it was very successful.
Sure.
Yeah. Hats off to
A lot of
the
fun. Yes.
merchants and
Absolutely.
everybody involved.
Maybe we should shut it down all the time then.
Those are bringing a lot of people over.
Phil doesn't like that.
I had clients complaining Monday when it wasn't open. It's a holiday.
Yeah.
All righty. Thank you for bringing that up, Tim. Anything else?
No.
All right.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second it.
We got a first and a second on German. All those in favor?
Alright,
Any opposed? Thank you.
that's it.
We are adjourned at,
Goodness me.
I don't know what time.
6:07.
6:07?
I didn't realize my cousin Ashley lives in the middle of
We are still
Songher
on for.
Acres.
I
Yeah.
didn't see much this weekend.
Is that the little houses with the knockout on the road there?
Appeals.